of our screenings, and of course we start with documentary, which is very exciting. My name's Zoe and I'm joined by Will and Tom, and we had the pleasure of curating tonight's programme for you.
With over 2,000 submissions between September and November, narrowing it down has been no easy task. However, with a lot of time and dedication and a bit of heated debate, we have managed to narrow the selection down to 8 documentary films that you will see tonight. Much like in previous years, our film festival has been so lucky to have students from all corners of the world. Tonight, the documentary strand boasts students from all across Europe, South America, and Asia.
What you may notice across tonight's films is their diversity, not just in style, but origin. At a time where bigoted rhetoric only seems to be rising, we think it's important to spotlight films that demonstrate diversity and inner complexities of human identity. Across tonight's films, you'll meet a football coach with secure exegesis, a non-binary shepherd, an edge have a controller with a love of nature and the sky, and many more.
Some of tonight's films do feature sensitive subjects and potentially graphic scenes, so if you do feel like you need to leave, that's completely fine. There's a door at the back, and also do feel free to exit and return if you want to.
As many of you will already know, the Short Film Festival consists of 5 awards, our beloved paper birds, which Zoe is holding. There is one for documentary, the purple one for experimental, one for fiction, one for animation. Each strand has a different jury, one consisting of an industry professional, a third-year student, and the respective winner of the strand from the previous year. These people will be the ones to choose who receives the award. And in addition to that, we also have the coveted Audience Paper Award, which is where you guys will come in handy.
The Audience Award is an award decided entirely by all you. Voting is as simple as going online or through your pamphlets through the QR codes. Once on the website, all you must do is click the thumbs up icon by the respective film you wish to vote for. You have infinite votes, so do not feel limited to 1 or 2 options. Then on Friday, the film which across all the strands has received the most votes will be presented with the white paper bird. And while on audiences, is anyone here on Letterboxd? Can I see some hands? Dan, that's poor of you. That's no excuse. For all you with Letterboxd, you may be happy to hear that once again we're having our contest. The rules to enter are simple. All you must do is submit at least 10 reviews across any of the strands of 50 to 100 words each. Then, after Friday's awards, the programmers will come together, and the user we find to have written the most insightful reviews will receive a £50 Amazon gift card.
These documentaries ask and provoke questions and thoughts, and you will have the opportunity to ask these questions at the Q&A session at the end. So please do remember your questions, because I know our filmmakers would love to hear them. And without further ado, we hope you enjoy the films as much as we have, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts after. So please do enjoy.
Hace 20 años, mi papá decidió llevar un registro de nuestras vidas, pero yo no tenía idea de eso.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for rejoining us. It's a pleasure. Can we get a round of applause for our filmmakers? Wonderful. So I'm Tom, and this is Will, and I'm just going to give a quick brief of what we're going to do. So we're going to begin by asking each of our filmmakers, directors, and producers to say their name and which film they made. and then we will go in and start asking them questions. And then at the end, we will give you guys the opportunity to ask them some questions. So I will start off by asking Eric if you could unmute yourself and introduce you and the film. Sorry, 1 second. We can't hear you, Eric. Eric, could you try again for us, please? No.
Ah là 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 là.
Was that one of you guys?
Yeah.
Allô?
All right,
Hello, hello.
perfect. Eric, could you introduce yourself and your film for us, please?
Yes, of course. My name is Eric Semashkin. And I made the very short film Olympic Trash, the short film about the last Olympic Games in 2024 in Paris. And I'm very glad to present my short film in this festival. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the short film, and I hope you will understand what I am saying with my very bad English accent. Thank you.
Now, Tirsek and Marwin, I believe you both worked on the same film. Could one of you introduce the film to us, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tersak. I am the director of If I Had Wings, I Would Fly. This is my producer, Marwin. And If I Had Wings, I Would Fly is a film about a wild bird rehabilitator in Chiang Mai. And we are so honored to be here in this film festival. So thank you for having us.
Hi guys, so I'm Marvin. So I work alongside with Elliot. So we're working closely together. So my role is producer and DP as well as the editor of the film.
Saka, could you please introduce yourself for us?
Yes, hi, I'm Sharka and I directed and edited When the Clouds Are Moving. And I'm also glad that I can be here, so thank you.
And Sam, would you be happy to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. I'm Sam, and I directed Larger Than Life, which stars Connor Sanderson, a truly larger-than-life figure. His disability started him out at his lowest point, but he's brought that to his greatest strength, and he's become larger than life.
I think while we're on you, Sam, we'll start with you, if that's all right.
Cool beans.
So I'm going to say, I think I speak for everyone here when I say how much we loved your film. But Connor, I want to meet him, man. He seems so chill.
If you go down to Salisbury, he will be DJing at the local club. I can promise you that. That's one of the first ways I met him.
was because he was DJing, and I remember we I was like, I've got to make a DJ about a film about this guy because he was DJing at the top of this. It's called the Chapel, at the top of this like organ, and he was DJing. And the next day, he was coaching football really early in the morning. He's truly someone to be admired.
What day is that? We'll come meet him. I was going to say, I think what we love so much about your film is obviously in the process of programming this festival, we came across a lot of films about disability and such, and they felt very exploitative, really. It was very patronizing, or it was someone speaking up for someone else. And it was just incredible for you to allow Connor to just come into his own and just have this much sort of character and freedom. And so I was just wondering if you could sort of share with us how much input Connor had on the filmmaking process.
I think ultimately it came down to trust. So with Connor, I remember, so what you don't see is the interview that we shot. We shot an interview that went on for I think about 2 hours. And that interview was basically, we set up a bunch of cameras, which I knew we were not going to use any of them. I sat down and I just had a conversation with him. And I knew what we'd filmed and I knew the sort of narrative, but at the same time, Connor knows how to tell his own story and he tells his own story all the time. You talk to Connor, you bump into him, he will talk to you for hours about his life and how he's overcome such things because he wants other people to overcome that as well. So Connor, he's a narrator already. He knows his life and he knows how to tell that story. And so it was very natural. Just a conversation between me and him, and that's what ended up in the documentary.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you.
I shall now quickly ask Tirsak and Marwin a question about their film, if that's all right. Got to find my question. Have you got? Oops, that's embarrassing. Have you got it? Ah, I've got it. Sorry. Yeah, we absolutely loved how your film was made. It was stunning visually, extremely professional, and you know, as someone that has done student films in the past, there is a clear level difference, and that is one of the big things that we want to know. How did you guys go about production in that sense as young filmmakers?
Thank you so much. It's so happy to hear that. So our crew was a very small crew of 4 people, and our budget was also pretty limited as well. We had around $650 to work with. So like a lot of the stuff that we used was like borrowed or like just like the stuff that we already have. And the way that we approach this is that we prepared a lot and we studied a lot about like filmmaking, interviewing, lighting, and like we just like covered so many roles and just like helped each other out along the way, as well as just captured so much footage that we have a lot of like stunning visuals to work with. That's pretty much it.
If I could just ask also, do you remember what cameras you used exactly for the film?
For the cameras, we had one photo camera and one video camera, which is the Sony A7R5 and the Sony ZV-E1.
Awesome, thank you. I'll move on to Eric now, if that's right with you. I was going to say, so Eric, what we love so much about Olympic Trash was the sort of this idea of personification of space, how you took what I would say is a real tragedy, this sort of displacement and this destruction for the Olympic Games, and how it's just awfully affected these people. And you were able to give such a satirical sort of condemnation of it that it was really moving to me, I think, even with the short length. So I was wanted to ask, with this satirical approach you took, what was your reasoning behind that?
I think because the subject of my short film is quite, as you said, quite harsh for some people, especially like for children, if like some children will watch this movie. So because this movie, the subject was quite difficult, I wanted something very light in the short film to make people laugh, to make people enjoy more the movie, so they would more understand the subject and be more open more open-minded to understand the subject. And so for that, I choose two things: humor, like humoristic sounds about the voiceover of people presenting sports. And the second thing is sports, because I know that sport is something that can unite people very quickly. And I understand this when I arrive in France, because I'm not French, I'm from Ukraine, and I arrived in France like 12 years ago. And there was something very special which happened in France in 2018. France won the football World Cup, and the whole France was united, every part of the population and the politician, the right wing, the left wing. And I saw that the sport can unite people. And so in my film Olympic Trash, I wanted to use that, and to use these sounds of people talking about Kylian Mbappe, about football. So the audience can recognize the sounds and can, I don't know, like feel nostalgic, or like, yeah, and they can like whole unite alongside this sport team. So yeah, and for me it's like very important in my work to have humor, not especially if my subjects are quite dramatic.
That was a wonderful response. Thank you.
Shaka, we absolutely loved how your film kind of gave us a glimpse into something you don't see every day: air traffic control, and then on the ground, that sort of life is very, very intriguing. What was the process of gaining access to the air traffic control tower? It's not a typical thing you see, especially with student filmmakers. Was there much you had to go through, a lot of paperwork?
Well, it wasn't easy. I just write a lot of emails to the director of the air traffic controllers in Prague. And then I have to came to his office and talk a lot, and we have many meetings. But then in the end, it was easy. It was just the paperwork and a lot of time, but in the end, the final access to the tower, like when we came with the cameras and everything, it was so easy. I was so surprised because all the paperwork before and the talks before was so hard, and then we just came and go in, and that was it. And everybody was really kind to us. But just this one guy, the director, was you can't shoot there, you will disturb them and anything. But in the end, it was easier than he talked about it.
Yeah, one thing we had noticed was like the sort of production quality. It was really intense.
It's an epic scale, really.
It was, and it was being in what I can only imagine to be quite a confined and I won't call it an aggressive environment, but one that's busy. Busy. How was it like operating the camera within that area?
Well, in this project, I wasn't that good director as as I should for my DOP, because I was so focused to connection with the character and the connection with her, with going with the flow of her. So he worked really independent, and I think it was a lot about looking for a right moment, right angle. Often I just take the phone and just find some shoot, and then I show it to my DOP, and he was like, "Yeah, we can do this or this." And also he shoot a lot by himself and just working by himself, independent, and didn't need some description or anything.
Awesome. So Sam, we're about to go back to you. So I wanted to ask you.
Nice.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you because it's actually something that I was talking with the audience just now, and it was about the shot compositions of your film. Obviously, we heat the camera below, not was it eye level to Connor, so we're sort of seeing the world from his perspective. And I think as audiences, it defamiliarizes ourselves to these sort of environments that I think we often take for granted or we don't really notice. And I was wondering, when you were filming these shots at this lower level, how was the process different? Did you just how like I mean different in like practically, but also maybe theoretically?
I think like all of these, all of these amazing directors here, like we can't take all the credit for these amazing cinematics. We have great DPs, and my great DP was Hugo Theodoro. I was in my first year of uni, and he was in the third year. And so when we shot this, and I remember us discussing like, okay, how are we going to shoot this? And I was very firm, like you've got to stay on his perspective because if we're going to feel that feel the way that he feels. And also, I didn't ever want to make a documentary that sort of told an audience how to feel. I want them to sort of experience it. And, obviously, as you've all seen today, like within that documentary, there's some horrible bits in it, where people in the club are treating him horribly and it sort of shocks you. Um, but at his level, it feels normal. And so I feel like being at his level, it was so important to tell that story. Because imagine we were shooting it from up high, it would seem like we're sort of making it a joke. And it's not a joke, it's a life. And we wanted to show his life. Um, Hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Oh no, absolutely does. There were some stunning shots in that. So congrats to your DP and you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure I pass that on. I really appreciate that.
So back to Tirsak and Marwin. A bit of a continuation from the standard of production. Have you continued to be in touch with the Rehabilitation Centre since the release of your product? And has your film brought more awareness to the centre's cause?
Well, sure, I can help answer on this. So, actually, like the story on our subject on wildlife rehabilitator, his name is Chan. So it's actually like a story that like close to my home, since like he live like he is someone that I have known, and then I later pitched to Tirsak about his idea and his space of running this whole center. So I for that like the club itself, they are backed by the club, a local club in Chiang Mai where there are people there who like take care of wildlife and birds and also like helping on sharing this info about the release. So by having us there and later on in like the later phase of after the film, I think we help in a sense to raise awareness about like the existence of the center, and also like me myself is also like still keep in touch with Chan and helping him with like sharing, announcing the news about the center.
There's wonderful news. It's really good to see people giving back to the communities.
I was wondering, do you know what Chan's up to nowadays?
Uh, I think he's still like his like whole career and like whole life is still centered around this like rehabilitation of all the birds. But aside that, he also like a very like passionate individual on like wildlife as a whole scale. So he also interested in snakes and maybe like I think he might expand it into like helping more of the wildlife.
That sounds great. Wishing him the best. Eric, am I right to turn to you quickly? I just wanted to return to your comments earlier, so about the universality of football and the Olympics, because obviously I'm sure many of us remember we had our Olympics in 2012, and again there was similar political unrest, obviously in London where people were being removed from housing, and there was the construction of these new sites, and it was just people were really just like got a bad end of the deal there. And obviously, so that means it's not just a French issue, it's a global issue.
Yeah.
And with the Olympics coming to, I think it's Los Angeles in 2028, I was curious, what sort of changes would you like to see personally made to sort of prevent these issues?
So first of all, you said a good things that it doesn't only touch the French Olympic Games, but it touch every major event. There was, for example, the African competition of football, the CAN, like 3 months ago, I think, in Morocco, and it was the same thing, and they gave like millions of euros to this competition, but not to the hospitals and to the school. But yes, it's the same thing. And in Paris, it was a total disaster because it was 19,000 people who were moved out of their place from Paris. 19,000. So it's a great number of people, and I hope that in the future the organization will do the things they are always we will do the things that they are saying they do, but they're not. Like, for example, the Olympic Games of Paris, they said that they will be the most ecological, the most sustainable games in whole history, and they will include everyone and it will be very inclusive, but it was not. So I hope in the future it will be, but because it's in the USA, I think it will be not, and I think there will be any chance that it will be very nice and ecological and inclusive Olympic Games. And there will be, I think, also the World Football Cup also in the USA and in the whole North America. And I think also it will be a disaster, like for the people coming from the middle class and the like the poor people. And but I hope that my short film spoke about these people to people, and I'm glad that from 2023, the date of the creation of the movie, the short film was able to travel to many countries, and so people could understand my message about this. And I'm also very glad that this short film is screened in the world, because it was a short film I made like very poorly. I think I made this short film like with 12 or 13 euros, and I made this short film all alone. So I did like everything in the short film, and I really wanted to do this film only for me. But when I finished the editing, I see the the possibility to showing to people, and I understand that yes, perhaps it will be good to show to people, and perhaps people could laugh and or just take the fact. So I'm very glad that this short film is traveling, and I'm very glad that you young people are watching this type of short films.
It certainly reached us. I don't think any of us will be seeing the Olympic Games the same way again.
Returning back to Sharka, your previous comment with you working more closely with your character, could you tell us how you developed this idea and how the connection between a air traffic controller, someone who spends a lot of time with their head in the clouds, between nature?
Well, I knew that I want to portray an air traffic controller, but I have to find some, which which was harder than I thought in the beginning. So I came to the social media and just looking air traffic controllers, blah blah blah. And then I saw a podcast with my protagonist Olga, which was about the job, not about her person, but about the job. But in this podcast, she was so pure and authentic that I have that feeling that I want to meet her and just talk to her and try to develop some connection. And then we had a first meeting, and I read a book for this film and for developing this idea. And I have it on the table, and she was like, "Oh, this is this book, The Bridges Through the eternity? And I was like, yes. And that was the moment that I realized that I think this is the protagonist for the film, because she felt so, I don't know, connected to all the treatment and the thoughts that I wanted to tell by the film. And we also realized that we are living in the villages near to so she was very close, also physically. So we had a lot of meetings, and we just sitting, having a beer and talking, and having a fried cheese, and it was a lot of time, but it was like with a friend. And then we just started shooting, and we started with the day in a air traffic controller view tower. And by this day, we came to her house, which was a really magical place. And it was natural that we just thought, because we had a lot of time of talking. So then the shooting was really easy after all this time.
That is awesome. I have to admit that passion to find air traffic controller has certainly been reflected in your piece.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so with audience members, we will now give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions. I know certainly there is quite a couple of you that are on creative courses, and I think it'd be a really good idea to speak to people like these who have amazing production skills and seeing how they've operated. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, there we are.
Okay.
I would like to speak to Eric, if that is okay. I was wondering how your film was received in France, potentially by people who were living in the slum that was destroyed for the Paris Olympics, because you cited your use of nostalgia and the unification of sport behind the reasoning of your film, and I did genuinely enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but I thought potentially you could have then followed on and then met with someone who was living in the slum beforehand, and now they've been relocated. You could have interviewed them about what their life is now like. So how was it received in France?
It was received in France the same way it was received in the other European countries. The same way the people saw the movie, they laughed a bit. They said, "Ah, yes, it was well made. It was an original movie, experimental, nice." And we will go on to something else. So there was not a big reaction, but there was something very special when I showed the movie in like a small cities, like villages, because people didn't really know what was going on in Paris, so they were quite surprised. And because the news in France weren't showing this, that the people that 19,000 people were like went out of Paris because of the Olympic Games. So I, thanks to my short film, many people like in France, and as I said, like in small villages especially, learned this, and it created like a small wave, I think, in the contestation, in the small contestation about the Olympic Games. But at the end, the Olympic Games, like in generally, was a success. So everything went well. There were no terrorist attack or something like that. So people are now quite forgetting about the Olympic Games, and now people in France are only thinking about the war in Iran, or the war in Ukraine, or they are thinking about the new presidential election. So yeah, now in France we don't they don't really think about the Olympic Games, but about the people who were living inside of the informal settlements in the slum. I was able to reach two associations, one in France and one in Serbia. in which also I did another documentary, but more classic documentary, like with people and with interviews. And when I reached both associations, I could show my short films, but and so they said that it was nice, but it was not like it was like a very neutral film. It was a very neutral film, and they said yes, it's good, but yes, it won't change many things. But it was also my intention that it was a short film not only about the people living in these slums, but it's also a short film about the whole people who were displaced from their homes during these big events. And so for me, it's like this short film is about doing sports. It's about this trash and these things doing sports with balloons. And for me, the trash quite represent these people who could not attend the Olympic Games because government, the organization, consider these people, poor people, as trash, and they just throw them away. So this short film is for me an opportunity to the people who could not attend the Olympic Games to play here during 2 minutes. And yes, I don't know if I answer correctly to your questions. And sorry if you do not understand because of my English accent.
No, you have answered well. Thank you, Eric.
Yep.
Sorry, one more question. Did you face any? Was there like criticism or backlash at all? Like, was anybody unhappy that you could have potentially glossed over what is, for some people living in those slums, a totally life-changing event? Did that happen at all?
Like you mean change something for one of the people living in the slums?
Yeah. Was anybody there particularly unhappy with you making this film? Like, would they have seen this and thought, oh, he's kind of making fun of the fact that we have been replaced? Did you face criticism like that or no?
First, I'm not making fun about the fact they've been displaced. I'm not totally. I'm not making fun of that. I'm making fun of the fact that people who are organizing these games are treating these people as trash, and this for me is quite absurd because sports it needs to unite people and not divide people. And in this short film, I wanted to emphasize this fact, this absurd fact that the Olympic Games did they divide thing. So this is why is also a comedy. But about the people who were displaced, they are not like for now they are not in Paris. People who are displaced during the Olympic Games, most of them they went out of the city to other cities, or some of the people went also to Serbia. And as I said, I made a documentary in Serbia. It's in the Balkan, in the east of Europe. And I made in documentary in Serbia, and I met some of the Roma people there, and I could discuss with them. And there was not, as I said, when I discussed with the associations, there are not like bad or good feedbacks. It was very neutral, like because in this short film, I wasn't showing any faces, any hands, any like only showing objects. And this is a very like neutral short film, but in generally people are quite happy with this film. But I had some some people criticizing this movie from the French government, especially during the year of the Olympic Games in 2024, because they were like quite censure. I don't know how to say it. And like during the year of the Olympic Games, I received like some threatening from like people like working indirectly for the like French government and for the city of Paris, and they wanted like to make my movie disappear. So yeah, it was like in this part I had like some problems, but in generally it went well.
Thank you for your answer, Eric, and congratulations on your film.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Hi, I've got a question for Saka. I just wanted to ask, given how close you were with Olga, did it feel quite difficult walking away from that after the production was finished?
Yes, even if it was a really long process, because in the beginning I had an editor, but we had some problems in the editing room, and in the end I decided to edit the movie by myself. So it was longer than I expected, but how it was longer and longer, I felt more, I don't know how the word. I just felt that I have to make it right, and make it right for the Olga and for our relationship, and it was the most important for me in the process. And how it was longer and longer, I felt so, I don't know, I just felt that I can't make it right because it takes so long, and she will be so unhappy after that. But in the end, it was just silly thoughts, and she liked it. But I was really scared about it, and I just didn't want to finish it in the end, because I know that it will be end of one era. So yes.
Yeah, it feels like you've caught a vulnerable side of her because you feel so lonely in the film, and that sense of just you want to do it right because you've seen that unique side, that perspective that no one else has seen. And part of me thought as well watching it that she wanted someone to see that. So that's what came across for me, anyways, in that film.
Yeah, I I felt that it's one of her big themes in the moment. So I want to make it work also in the film, and like a mirror for her and for her inner world in this time and in this one chapter of her life. So yeah, I wanted to have it in a film, and also I wanted to have it in a film for her to see it, because I felt that she is in a period when she want to change something, but she really don't know what. So I wanted to kind of help her, maybe, because I felt that she is my friend, so I can try.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for more questions. Any more audience questions? We'll come to you afterwards.
Hi, question for Shalka. Many thanks for your film. I really enjoyed it. I like this impressionistic look at people's lives, particularly. My question is, one of the most moving things for me in the film was when she said that her child called her, and she let her put the phone down, and she was with her till she fell asleep, or he or she, I can't remember if it was a daughter or a son. Was it a son?
Was a son, yeah.
So my question is, as a filmmaker, there's so many stories to tell in documentary, and it's like you just explained, you were left all to your own devices to tell this in the edit, which is even more difficult if you can't bounce off ideas. And so why did you decide what you decided to do? Because I think for me, when I see her looking out onto the plains, she's of course looking at the plains as part of her job, but she's also looking to see the difficulties she has in her relationship with her children. But that doesn't really feature very much in your film. You kind of we second guess that this is there. Was a distinct decision not to go any deeper and maybe focus more on goats feeding goats. So that's my kind of little cynical question.
Yes, I completely understand it. I actually wanted to have it there more, but we just basically didn't have it in a material. And I tried to make it as much visible as it was possible, but it wasn't there that much. But yeah, I completely understand this question and these thoughts, because I also feel that this moment with the calling to with his son, with her son, and he's just listening and falling asleep. It was actually one of the first thing about which we were talking with Olga, and I knew that I want to have this moment in the film, and I thought that we will be able to completely have it like a situation, but it wasn't possible in the end. Even we were so close, because I think we came like I think the son was already old for cooperation with us, because she also talking about it, that he's in a teenage and he's completely cutting off from her and also from us. So yeah, I don't know if I understand. I'm completely in a house with these thoughts and everything, but I hope I understand. I answered the question.
Do we still have time for the woman over there?
Hi, yes. My question is also to Saka, and I think it echoes somewhat the question that's just been put before. I would have liked to have known a bit more context about air traffic control for women. How did she get into the job? And how difficult is it for women to get into that position? And the disparity, between men and women in that job. I would have liked to have known a bit more about that, and what for her, because you say about her leaving the child and she's talking to the child. um so does she work shift patterns? Given the job she's in, air traffic control, is there some way where she could have fitted that job into her lifestyle rather than having to fit it into air traffic control? Because she
Mhm.
seems to work shift patterns, yeah.
Yes, thank you. It's a really good question, because in Prague, where we shoot it, and also in general, there is really a little amount of women in this job, and there is a big amount of men in this job. So in Prague, there were 3 women and around 80 men. So this is the comparison in gender question. And the one thing is also because there is a different kind of shifts, and there is night shifts and day and some middays, and it's really changing, and their lifestyle is really flowing. And so yeah, it is one thing why the women aren't applying to the job that much. It's getting better, but it's one of the big things. And I don't know what was if there were any other question, or I lost myself in the answer. Is there something what you ask, because I forgot the answers, the questions. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I think you've answered it.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay,
very
sorry.
much.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Do we have time for any more questions or any more audience questions left? Oop, over there.
Hi. Sharka, you touched on it before as well, but I'd like to direct this question to Elliot, Sam, and Marwin for your films. Obviously, one of the beautiful things of documentaries is to like shed light on the ordinary lives of the people that they focus on. How did the subjects of your films receive seeing themselves and seeing their stories on camera and on the big screen?
Chan was very nervous being on the big screen because he's not very used to being on the screen because he's somebody who's very private, very quiet, likes being in his own element. So him seeing himself on the big screen and just being documented, I think is something that like he's very nervous about, and he has raised some concerns to us as well of like stuff that he has said, saying that like, oh, he might not be sure if he really wants to have this documented, filmed, or like showcased to everyone. And it's interesting to see like their perspective on like being documented as well. But I think that like during the process he was very nervous about it, but after we showed him the film he was very like kind of amazed because he has never been on the big screen. And just, you know, if you were to see yourself on the big screen as well, it's a very interesting and incredible moment. It's like as if you're like a Hollywood star, you know. So he definitely was very excited after seeing himself on the big screen.
With me, Connor, Connor, most people knew Connor because he was quite popular on the internet. You might have seen the video of him playing football with the ladies football team on TikTok. Like that went viral, like 7 million views. He was destined for the camera, like ultimately, and I guess I was just lucky enough to be the one who got there first. Because I remember a couple of weeks after finishing the documentary, he said, "Oh yeah, look, there's newspapers reached out to me, and these guys have reached out to me." I never knew him through that. I knew him just as a person, and I think that's maybe where my approach came differently. But saying that, it doesn't mean that he's open for everything to go on camera. Like he did have opinions about the edit. He didn't want to be seen as, you know, there was ways that he wanted to present himself, and they were fair. And I think when you're putting yourself out there, you've got to, know what part of you want to show. But at the same time, he was comfortable enough to show the close parts of him that he hadn't showed anyone before. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you for that. I think we're wrapping up soon, but just quickly, do any of you guys have questions for your filmmaking peers? Nope. That's no worries. Oh. Can we get a round of applause for our filmmakers one last time? Yeah. Thank you guys for coming along. It's incredible seeing your films once more, and I wish you all the best of your careers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the
Thank you.
festival.
Yeah, just final things in the stand up as well.
So,
Come on, get up.
I'm up.
Lazy boy.
Massive thank you for everyone that's attended. It's been a great turnout. It's lovely to see you all. As you should know, we still have 4 more days. We have animation tomorrow, and then it's experimental and fiction. I would highly recommend you guys coming. Can we get a massive thank you to our tech team tonight, as well as Lydia? Do remember to vote for the audience paper bird, and for those that are on Letterboxd, remember 30 to 100 words, 10 films reviewed, and you will be 10 or more, hopefully more, and you will have the opportunity to win a £50 Amazon gift card, which is lovely stuff.
And also, it is open to anyone, so don't worry if you're not a student currently. Alumni are welcome, guests are welcome. It's pretty much a free-for-all. And also, just a reminder, for the screenings next few days, they'll be in this room again at the same times. And then Friday, for our awards, it will be at 7 p.m, but we will be at the Scale. It's in the Fabric District near London Road. And again, that is free tickets as well, so feel free to come along. That will be going on to about 10 or so. We'll see. Time, yeah.
Well, hey.
Thank you, guys, and one final applause for all of you guys for being great.